Hi, it's time for Good Energy, and I'm Dr. Julie at Endeavor Health and Chiropractic. And today feels like a really good energy day. I don't know if it's the air, if it's the fact that it was 44 degrees out when I went out on my walk this morning, or if the fact that that means I can wear sweaters, leggings, and boots. Those always make me feel really good. I'm going to make sure I write that in my healing template in the Good Energy In section. There's just something about, I like that outfit. It's my favorite thing to wear. Today we are talking about piles around your house. There are those of you who are terribly organized and for whom see something that comes in, you look at it and you go, I have to figure out where this goes. I analyze it, I put it where it needs to go, and that's it. And in fact, having a pile sit on your counter for 24 hours is a real intense stressor. So you try to get rid of it as soon as possible. And that is terrific because those piles are causing you stress. And you realize that and you make the shift. For some of us, those piles represent a place where we have stopped because we don't have the energy to analyze where they should go. In fact, we kind of run into an analysis paralysis. I was actually going to show you one of the piles that I had sitting in my house. It was next to my dresser. It was a pile of, I need to recycle or reuse or donate this stuff. But in my analysis, I had found out that not a lot of places take old stuffed animals, which totally makes sense because old stuffed animals have all sorts of biological stuff on them. They're not necessarily the cleanest. And I was paralyzed by the fact that I had to throw them away. And that did not make me happy because I didn't want to add to the landfill things that weren't just going to automatically break down, especially when they're loaded with polyfill. So they sat all of these things, and not just the stuffed animals, but the other things that needed to be recycled, given away, reused, all of that was sitting in one corner. And so I was experiencing a little analysis paralysis because I couldn't figure out what to do with them. The other part of us, sometimes when we see a pile, we rebel against the fact that, I don't want to do that today. I should do it, but I don't want to do it. Or my spouse or my partner or my kids say, I have to get rid of that pile. And you feel like put upon. You're like, can't do that today. For those of you who suffer this idea when you have a lack of energy and things end up in a pile, that pile sits there. And what it's actually doing is it's actually pulling away your energy. It's almost the amount of energy, whenever you see it, it takes you back to that place that says, I need to finish that pile. You need to finish that pile. You're causing other things that aren't good. You need to get rid of that pile. And that constant reminder is almost as bad as having a bad hip, because you're using energy to block that out just as much as you're using energy to block the pain in your hip or your shoulder out. And those are stressors. Excuse me. And just as much as your hip or any physical thing in you is a stressor, when you run into analysis paralysis, where you don't know how to make the next step because you can't quite get the answer that you want, or you're not feeling good and people keep putting things on you and you're like, you know what, I'm going to rebel by not doing that. Those are all stressors. Those are little things that are eating away at your overall energy to heal. And just like in Wednesday's Good Vibes, where I talked about writing down your good energy in is actually a way to get you back to that mental place. Seeing that pile each time you walk past it is a good way of pulling energy out of you or adding stressors and reducing your energy to heal. So I want you to think about ways that you can overcome that pile. ways that you can overcome that thing that every time you see it, you cringe. For some of you, it's a game. You can make it a game. You can say, if I get this done, I can go do something I really like. I can reward myself with a walk outside, with a bit of ice cream, with snuggles with my kid, or just a nap. If I can do that. You can do a reward system so you can game it. You can look at it from an energy in perspective. You can actually say, while I am not doing this and while I am not figuring out this pile, my energy to heal is getting smaller. And in that, I am reducing my capacity to be as strong and as powerful as I can be. And for those of you who are wondering what I did to get rid of my pile because it vanished yesterday, I looked at it from an energy in perspective. Every time I saw that pile, which was in my bedroom, every single day, I looked at that pile and went, that's floor space that could be open and very nicely feng shui for those of you who follow that, could be open and provide energy, and I could put practical things there. It was currently being occupied by a pile of stuff that needed to go to either Goodwill or the garbage, and I just needed to make a decision. So I had to think about it in terms of energy to heal. Was it giving me energy? Was it taking energy away? And once I started viewing it from an energy to heal perspective, it was a lot easier. As I said, for some of you might need to envision it as a game. For others, you might have to commit to somebody else. You might have to commit to your spouse or commit to your child and say, I am going to clean this pile up tomorrow. And by actually verbalizing it and telling somebody that you're going to do it, you can actually commit to it a little bit easier. But you've got to find your own path. Because sometimes saying that you're going to commit it kind of makes you go, I still don't want to do it. So find a way to think about it any way you can in terms of the energy to heal, in terms of a game that you reward yourself for actually getting it done, or committing to it so that it actually goes away. Because either way, that pile, every time you see it, is sending you back into a state of stress that if it wasn't there, you would have energy to heal. And in fact, clearing that pile is going to give you good energy in. So, some other stressors to think about. Just a reminder, we're starting up a new concept, Good Vibe Wednesday, where I'm giving you some science-related tips on how to get good energy in multiple different categories. And we'll see you next week to talk about the healing equation. Take care.